Welcome to the Ladies Who Leverage podcast, where we empower women to own their power, create influence and impact, and live life unapologetically AF. It's time to leverage your expertise, resources, and relationships to build your business, brand, and badassery. So just click subscribe and let's get it. I'm your host, Kelly Charles Collins. Welcome to the Ladies Who Leverage podcast. Today, my guest is the amazing Malena Crawford. So Malena is a spiritual life coach, more specifically, a transformation coach. Now, she didn't put this in her bio, but I think that it's worth reading to you, that she holds a degree with magna cum laude distinction in neuropsychology and public health from the George Washington University, and a spiritual life coaching certification. So her passion is helping women transform, remove their blocks, and learn how to turn them into gold in their path forward. She works with women of all races and ages, and much of her past work has been with Black and brown women, helping them heal from racial, sexual, and personal traumas. Malena's passion for transformation comes from her own experience moving from chaos and poverty. She's also an international keynote speaker and the author of the widely acclaimed best-selling novel, A Fistful of Honey. So you can probably see why I wanted to have Malena as a guest on the show. I think she is a brilliant woman. And so welcome, Malena. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. So happy to be here.
It's awesome. So I want to start with talking about how you got into the whole thing about being a spiritual life coach. Why was that the path that you chose?
Great question. So my journey began, I think, where a lot of transformations start, and that was in a lot of pain. So 2008, I had a really profound spiritual experience. I was just like the bottom fell out of my life. The bottom fell out of my one of a really significant relationships of mine had fallen apart. I had become a single mother. And so I just was like, God, what is my purpose? There has to be more to life than this. And I heard it very distinctly, very clearly, to heal yourself and to heal women. So when I heard that, I was very much in a Christian box. So when I heard heal yourself, I intuitively knew it wasn't go get a medical degree. And so that began the journey into what it means to heal spiritually. Yeah. So that started everything.
And so we're talking about healing and having to heal yourself. And as a child, you had some really traumatic instances that happened in your life. And so talk to us about how all of that came, full circle in terms of having to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a child, I grew up with a lot of chaos, a lot of poverty. We were in and out of homelessness. There was a lot of, just ungood things that can happen to a kid. And so I had this idea of myself that was just, I felt very worthless. I felt that I didn't matter. I felt very insignificant. And even though I was an adult woman, I hadn't outgrown that little girl who felt that way. So what healing means to me is really uncovering the wholeness that's always there. We're always whole, but it's like stripping away these ideas and these beliefs of brokenness. And so that's what it was for me. First of all, reconnecting with that divine part of me that was always sovereign, that always had the wisdom, that was always confident. Being reconnected with my intuition, being reconnected with my inner wisdom. So that was my healing journey. Because if you can think of it visually, for me, it was like I was face down in the mud, but I was a queen the whole time. And so that healing process was pulling me off of my knees, pulling me out of that mud, and even knowing that there was a throne back there and getting rethroned. So, yeah.
I love that. A queen. I was still a queen. I was in the mud, but I was still a queen.
Yeah,
And
you are.
And what you said about, all of the things that were happening to you as a child, and that as an adult you were still living into that. I think some people don't think about how impactful things that are said to people as children, when we talk, we speak to children, or what they see, right?
Mhm.
How that really impacts your life going forward, and, really impacts the decisions that you make,
Mhm.
right? About relationships or about your career path. And so what did something happen? I know that you said that you just had this, like, God was speaking to you, but was there something that made you be still enough
Yeah.
to hear what was being said to you?
Oh yeah, it was the pain. It was the pain. So when I became being a single mother was my biggest fear ever, ever, ever. For some reason, like I held on to the relationship I was in, even though it was very unhealthy, very toxic, and even abusive, because I did not want to be on my own because of
Hmm.
what, I didn't think I could do it. And so I was in so much pain from, people call it now, narcissistic abuse. And just like all of that stuff from childhood was kind of, it was triggered, like all these things that you felt worthlessness and all this stuff, now you are worthless, now
Mm.
you are, so it that's where I was. It was just so much pain, and that's where it began. I knew that I wanted something different, and at that point that I was just on my knees, I didn't care what what that was. I don't know if you've ever had a moment like that, but it will bring you to stillness when like, it's time for something new. It's time for a transformation. I am willing to give up everything that I think I know. I'm willing to give up any behaviors. I am in complete surrender in order to move to this next level. So that's what it was. It was a moment of surrender because
Mm.
I it was too much.
Yeah, because it'll break you. Right,
Absolutely.
it'll break you. So what was it that so you heard this message and you got it loud and clear this time? Because I imagine that it wasn't the first time that you've kind of heard the message, right, from being a spiritual person.
It actually was.
It was? Oh, okay.
Because before that I was more of a religious person.
Oh,
And I
okay.
also had the idea that God didn't speak to me
Hmm.
because of, so when you have things happen to you and you have this idea that you are less than, it's also very common that you think you're outside of like the citizenship of the kingdom, if that makes any
Oh,
sense.
wow. Okay.
And so for me, I just didn't think that God really cared about me. I was like, I'm going to ask this question. I'm begging you to answer me. So when I got my answer, I was like, oop, going with this.
Right. I'm going to take this answer because I don't know if I'm going to get another answer, right? If I ask a
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely.
So, when you got that answer, what did you then embark on as far as your journey into transformation?
Yeah. So the very first thing I did, it was a class called Qigong. And like I said, I was very much in a religious box, but Qigong is a form of energetic medicine. And before that, I was very skeptical, like, yeah,
Not
this
doing that.
whole not doing it. But he had us do an exercise where I physically felt my own energy.
Mm.
I felt my own energy, and I was like, oh my God, I felt it. And in that moment, I just felt like God was there. Like God was like, you need proof. You are the kind of person that needs proof. Here's the proof to move forward. And so in that Qigong class, I actually met a woman who was studying at a Yama Van Zant school. And she was, oh yeah, I'm a fourth year student. And I was like, okay, student, what is this school? Because not I'm on a path now. And so that started everything. I couldn't do the school because they started with some kind of program that if you didn't start with them, you couldn't do the year. But everything that Ayanla came out with, I was there front and center. Every book that she ever wrote. Everything that I could get my hands on about spiritual healing, emotional healing, all of that stuff, coupled with my background in schooling. So that was what set it off. Yeah.
And and as you went down that journey, I know that one of the things that you did was to write a book, a
Yeah.
novel
Yeah.
called A Fistful of Honey. And
Hmm.
I love that honey is an acronym.
Yeah.
So, before we talk about the acronym, tell us about A Fistful of Honey and why did you write that book?
Yeah. So a fistful of honey. So I had two profound events in my life that changed my life. The first was the one I told you about in 2008. The second was in 2013 when Trayvon Martin's murderer got off for murdering this baby. And I was pissed
Mm,
with God. I was livid. Like, how can this be that there's still no justice for Black people in 2013? And it was a prayer that I expected an answer to. And so I got it every single morning for 2 months, between the hours of 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. I woke up with all this information and wrote it down.
wow.
And it became the book of Fistful of Honey. Coupled with that, I was told to tell your story and tell it all. And you're talking to a very private woman. Like, my business? Yeah, your business. And so obviously some parts of the novel are fiction. They're not,
Right.
it's not all my story. But I put every single event in there that was mine, the pain of it, the rawness of it. Um, I mean, there was no censorship in it. And that is what all of that was a fistful of honey. Now, of
Yeah.
course, there's some twists and turns and adventure and things that make it a good read. But that's the heart, the essence of the piece.
Would you say, Melina, that that was part of the healing to be
Oh,
able to write that book and put it out there to the world?
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yes. And it was such a gift. It was such a gift. It was a little, I was not fearful, but I was like, oh my God, like you're about to put this in public. There's no taking it back. Like
Yeah.
this, it was so sacred to me. The writing process and everything, like you're gonna put this on the shelf to to, to be consumed, and there are gonna be people that are gonna criticize it, and there are gonna be people that love it, but at the heart of the matter, this is your healing process. But I would do it again and again.
Yeah.
It's such a gift from God to be able to write this book.
And I had mentioned that honey, there's an acronym. It stands for something. What does honey stand for?
Honey stands for healing, oneness, nurturing, essence, and yes. Yes. So I'll try to sum it up quickly. So healing is, like we said, healing is really just uncovering the wholeness that's already there. And then oneness is coming back into your divine identity, getting back in touch with your intuition, your divine gifts, all of that. And nurturing. So every time I do, they're called honey talks. Every time I do these honey talks, I kind of liken us women to queen bees.
Mm,
The queen bee. So the queen bee, we know by her nature, she's fed by all the other bees. You know, she's expending all this energy. So what would happen if she wasn't nurtured anymore? The whole thing
down.
shuts down. And it doesn't just shut down for the bees, but it shuts down for humans. When the bees go away, you know, our crops are, we're all at risk.
Yeah.
You know, our crops, everything that they pollinate for us. So the same is for us. When we are not nurtured, or when we allow things that are unnurturing into our lives, it shuts down everything, especially us,
Hmm.
you know. And then there's essence. So when I bring up essence, I bring up my beloved Maya Angelou's poem "Phenomenal Woman," and
Yes.
that just on the head. That is your essence. When you walk into the room, your impact, your influence, that is uniquely yours, your power.
Yeah.
in this world. And then yes is simply saying yes to your heart's desires, opening yourself up to that which you desire.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
love that because it just encapsulates everything. It's a great way. And when you think about honey, like the rawness of honey, but
Mhm.
also the sweetness
Yes.
of honey,
Yes.
right? So I love all of that. And what would you say to women? So, you went through all of this in your life. You asked this question, you got the answer, and you said, okay,
Mhm.
you've told me the answer. I need to just move forward. What would you advise women who want to stage a comeback in their lives? What should they do?
The first thing that they need to do is ask, what do I want? And then what do I want to feel? Keep asking yourself that until you drill it down to super clear, till you can taste it, feel it, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I want. This is what I want to feel. And do not stray from that.
Mm,
Give yourself the gift of that. And so once you start to do that, you're opening a whole path to your comeback. Okay. And another thing, you're going to have to really be courageous, because every time so when you ask that question and you move forward, you're also kind of invoking something that is just really powerful, but it also attracts fear. It attracts disbelief. It attracts whatever resistance you have to that is going to come up. And so just know that and keep forging the way ahead. Yeah.
yeah. And even as you're going forward, it also attracts negativity, right? And people and detractors, people who want you to stay
Yeah.
in that space so that they can
Absolutely.
do with you as they will, or they can treat you as they want to, or talk to you as they want to. So,
Right.
part of it, when you talk about the honey,
Mhm.
and, I think of it as the sweetness of it. It's like being
Mhm.
sweet to yourself, right? Really understanding what those things that you talked about within the honey and your essence, and
Mhm.
understanding that in order to be who you truly are and to live up to your truest potential,
Mhm.
that you do have to take these steps forward, that we do have to come out of, whatever those things are, those limiting beliefs or what people believe us to be, and
Right.
really step into who we are, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
good. So good. Yeah. So I would really encourage women. I think that's such a great point, Kelly. Keep your baby sacred. It is okay not to tell your business. It is okay not to share what your next big move is going to be. So keep your baby sacred. And also, a third important question is what I'm doing now, what I'm choosing now, in alignment
Hmm.
with what I said that I want? So that is a check against everything. Is what I'm where I'm going, is that in alignment? Is who I'm letting into my life, is that are they in alignment? Is this choice in alignment? And be so loyal to you.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
so loyal to you and your vision, and
Yeah.
you get there.
And if it doesn't serve you, get rid of it. I don't care if
Mhm.
it's people or things.
Come on.
It just has to go, right? And because I always talk about alignment, and we think sometimes we have to hold on to things and hold on to people, but they've been with me forever. But oh, they're my family member. No, if it's not in alignment, just exactly what you said. If it's not in alignment, it has to go, because then it doesn't serve you, right? And
Absolutely.
and then your baby is no longer sacred. That's for everybody to do with what
Mhm.
they wish, right? And I
Absolutely.
think that that's what leads us astray sometimes and has us living somebody else's life
Mhm.
instead of our own.
Right. For way too long.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
And so I was looking at your website
Mhm.
because I think you're just so an interesting woman. And I was reading your bio, and there were so many things, like so many just brilliant things that you wrote in that bio.
Yeah.
And so I picked out a couple of them because I want you to talk about them, because I think they'll be helpful to the listeners. And one of the things that you said was, what I believed, I experienced. What I experienced, I believed.
Mhm.
What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I believed, what I said at the top of the call, when I believed that I was unworthy, that's what I experienced. people coming into my life who treated me like I was unworthy. Experiences that just were horrible, that I attracted because I felt like that's what I deserved. And that's what it is when we're so powerful when we believe these things about ourselves, but it can flip on the absolute beautiful side when you believe that you're worthy. Oh my goodness. When you believe that you come first, when you believe that it's okay for you to have a joy-filled, prosperous, just juicy life, that's what you manifest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because
Yeah.
the way that we think shows up in our words, shows up in our thoughts, shows up in our behaviors. And so, yes, if we're thinking that we're unworthy, we're not deserving,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what's going to be drawn into the atmosphere. And people don't understand, or don't not even understand. I don't think they appreciate
Mm-hmm.
how much that is true, right? In the world, what we put out is what we get back,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then one of the other things that you said was, I was on a hamster wheel of despair, all the while looking fabulous, getting degrees from top shelf schools and amassing material wealth. I learned the hard way that keeping up appearances can kill you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, looking fabulous while feeling like complete and utter crap inside, not doing the work, not doing the inner work. And so for me, like money was always easy to get. I attracted money pretty easily. So I would just cover the pain with whatever I could purchase,
Mm.
like, okay, this will make them like me. I have the newest clothes or the best blah 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 blah. Okay, now I got it. This will make me lovable. Let me get a new car. It's about my car. Let me get a new car, or with the degrees, and there are a lot of us just like overdosing on school. Like, okay, let me prove myself worthy by just one more achievement. Okay, I just need to do two more things. And all the while, the broken little girl is still running the show. She's on the throne, not the grown woman.
Mm.
And so yeah, she has to be dethroned in a very graceful and loving way.
Yeah.
But of course, we know that there's no amount of fabulous, no amount of pretty, no amount of anything that's going to fix that hamster wheel going inside if we don't
Yeah.
get in there. Hmm.
Yeah. You can't cover it up.
Nope.
You can't buy it away.
And I'm gonna testify for you. So yeah, it wasn't until I did my work and really becoming aware, like what's going on here? What is the pattern that you're setting up? And also, why are you setting this up? Why are you setting it up that you're always disappointed? What does
Mm.
that mean? Why are you setting it up that you're always sad? Are you getting attention from doing that? You're getting to be right about life not being fair? What is it? So yeah, we have to crack that open.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
And you start questioning ourselves, our own motives, right? We're always talking about, think about what those people's motives are. Well, what are your motives? Right?
Right.
Why are you,
That.
why, how about that question, right? Why are you showing up or not showing up, right? What is the motive behind that? And I love what you just said about, am I doing it so that I can prove myself right, that I am unworthy, or I don't deserve, or whatever negative thing that you're thinking of, that we put those things in play to
Yeah.
confirm whatever it is that we're feeling.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
would set ourselves up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
And so the last one that I saw, there were many, but I was like, I'm not going to bombard you with too many of them. But this one you said, I didn't know the real me. I didn't know my real power either.
mhm.
I gave it away freely and went on hiding, being fake and muting my voice.
Yeah.
I kept up living as a victim to my beliefs and my experiences. I love that part about muting my voice, because so often we talk about, women not having a voice or being voiceless. And it's not that we're voiceless or we don't have a voice. Sometimes we mute our voice or things have happened to us to mute us. So what made you write that? Like, what was the feeling behind all of that?
Yeah, like I'm just behind that was really self-love. Like, wow, you have so much to say, and I'm sure your listeners have so much to say and so much to offer. Um, but for me in the past, it was like when I spoke up, you're showing off. Who do you think you are? You know, it would make me much happier if you were quiet.
Mm,
So it would make me much more likable if I was quiet, like, oh no, I love myself too much to waste this gift that God has given me. And also it serves no one. And when I started, I also have a Facebook page called the Black Divine Feminine Reawaken. It is a mouthful, I know. I'll shorten it right
that's okay.
down. But I have that page, and then the novel. And so sometimes a lot of times in the DMs, people would say, I was going to kill myself, but then I read a post, or I read your book, I read this chapter. Can you imagine what would happen if I muted my voice? Like, it's our voices are very much for us, but they're not just for us. We have no idea who we are speaking up for, when we bring our voices forward. So it starts with the love for self, but then it's bigger than that. It's like, how can you not bring the majestic, amazing you, unique you to the forefront? You are
Yeah.
a gift. You're a gift. So all of that muting, who's that for? Who's
Right.
no, I will not. I will not. And
Yeah,
don't
I did.
you?
Right. I did a keynote speech the other day, and in the speech, I said, with all the things that was happening in my life, at the time, and I said, I knew that I had to show up for me because one day I might have to show up for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. When you wrote that book,
Mhm.
it was so that you were showing up for yourself, but in that you were showing up for other people. I heard this from somebody who said it, that they were saying that our lives are the master class for other people.
Mhm.
And like you, I'm a very private person. And so, as I've, embarked on this whole journey around ladies who leverage,
Mhm.
thinking about, what do I share? What do I not share? How much do I share? How much do I not share? And, it's been a journey of
Mhm.
really thinking about, but when you start to share, you realize that there's so many other people
Mhm.
who have experienced what you are experiencing,
Yeah.
or have experienced, or it's just like you said, somebody says, I just needed that word today,
Right.
so it wasn't my last day.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's giving me chills. And with my story, I hope they never get to that point.
Right.
It really is my prayer that women, especially younger women, hear it and they're like, you know what? I don't have to trial by fire. I'm gonna skip all that Malena was talking about, because my life is precious, and I'm gonna decide that now before all the trauma and pain and conflama.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's the one thing in your life that makes everything that you have been through worth it?
My daughter Dara,
Ah.
I have to say, yeah, just raising her and watching her. She's 14. Watching her develop, and yeah, I'm just like, how can I be the best woman I possibly can for her? And I don't know, I can't think of anyone else. It's her.
Yeah. Yeah. And you say, this is something that I love that you say too. You said life is for you,
Hmm.
not against you. And when you gain this perspective, everything changes.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So when we get out of that victimhood of why, did this happen to me, and we really get to the crux of it, what did this help me to learn? What did this help me to teach someone else? It's like, oh my God, it's gold. It is golden. Um, and one day, your failures or your someone's so-called failures are going to be gold to someone, whether you choose to be in business, with them or not, they're going to be gold.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of perspective, making sure that we get the lesson. That's the key part. Okay, what can I learn from this?
Right.
you know
Yeah.
and there you have it. It is for us, it is rooting for us, it favors us. Life loves us.
For women who are in the place that you were in,
Hmm.
or who are just struggling a little bit to find their essence,
Hmm.
what's one piece of advice that you would give them?
Oh goodness, I want to give them so much advice. Let's see, just one.
All right, we'll give them two.
Okay. um I just want you to see you are just so incredibly worth it, and I think that's the biggest thing that I have with working with women. It's like, even men, we're all going through this journey to come out of unworthiness. I think most human beings have been fighting to be worthy, when regardless of what your, spiritual leaning is, you were born worthy. Like, if we could just get that, you were born worthy. You were born with that desire in your heart that buzzes, like when you really, really want to do something or create something. That is your clue and your cue that not only are you worthy to do it, but you were purposed and chosen to do it, And so move forward with that knowledge, please. It's done for you. Like, move forward. um so give For me, I always say, give God an action to support.
Hmm,
So have the faith to move forward, have the faith to make an action towards your heart's desire. That is such a powerful piece of transformation. The action, you have to put the action, but give God that action to support. And I promise you, you will see miracles, even if they're real teeny tiny. The biggest miracles are in those millimeters, those small steps that we take away from where we are right now to where we want to be. And so I so encourage you to just take the step. Whatever it is, just say, I'm moving forward. I don't
that's right.
care what this is going to look like, and who might have something to say about it, but I'm moving forward. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's it.
Absolutely. We have to, right? We have to keep
Mhm.
moving forward,
Yeah.
even if we stumble sometimes, just get
Oh
up
yeah.
and keep going.
Yeah. That's all part of the journey,
Yeah.
And
You're such a testament to that.
yes, 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 yes.
And I'm so happy that you accepted my invitation to have this conversation.
Mhm.
I think it will be so helpful for so many of the listeners, and maybe even if it's not for them, but for somebody that they know, right, to
Mhm.
be able to pass on your words of wisdom. So
Oh,
thank you for sharing with my listeners. Thank you for sharing it in your book and in your Facebook group. So if people want to contact you, get in touch with you, get your book,
mhm.
how do they do that?
So you can reach me on my website. It's malenacrawford.com, Malena Crawford, Crawford, not Marlena. And you can reach me on Instagram at Malena Crawford. And then you can find the book on Amazon, Books a Million, or Barnes and Noble, A Fistful of Honey. So
And before we
reach
leave,
out.
what's
I would
next?
love to hear from you.
Yes, please reach out to her. And before we leave, though, what's next for Melina?
Next for Malena. So I will be doing a group coaching at the beginning of summer. And I'm always writing. So hopefully we'll see something released shortly. I'm going to keep quiet on it, but
Okay.
It's going to be an extension of A Fistful of Honey, an extension of the work.
Awesome.
They can also, in the meantime, you can read a short story on my website. Just go on there and click the little podcast button. It's a nice, entertaining read for you. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in today to the Ladies Who Leverage podcast. If you would like to join Ladies Who Leverage, because we're not just a podcast, we are a global community of women, please feel free to go to lwlinvestor.com so that you can become a part of our amazing community that's growing every single day. And our whole point is so that women live life unapologetically AF. So until our next episode, make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. And thank you all for listening and tuning in, and have an amazing day. Thanks for joining us. This podcast is brought to you by Lady Lawyer Media. If you're a badass woman who's ready to take action to live life unapologetically AF, then you need to join our global community on Facebook, Ladies Who Leverage. And remember to subscribe to our podcast. And until next time, let's collabosource, strategize, and monetize.